And we are ready to begin, and we're so pleased you're here. We have waited for you your entire lives. Now, we say that all the time, and each time more of you understand it, even those who have never been here before, because you exist on your planet at such a momentous time that we can't. Couldn't have been more excited to have you come here today. And what we said is, it's time for you to stop denying who you have become. And what we mean by that, when you come into the physical plane, you evolve, and you do that through the experiences you've had, through the knowledge you've gained, through the wisdom and the whole bit, but then you're meant to use it. And when you don't use it, then things go a little haywire and your lives look a little disruptive, and so does your world. Now, we've said that we have given you everything that you needed to live a wonderful life and create the world that you wanted to have, but not enough of you believed it, including our messenger. So we went out of our way today, as we say we always do with every session that we do, because we want you to understand how important you are. We've had him diligently putting down messages for years on these last several months of your movements and your planet so you could understand where you are now. And as you look at your world, especially today, you will see this is what we wanted you to correct. And you correct that when you decide to become who you were meant to be, and that includes our messenger. So we took him on a journey today, but it's for all of you, and you're going to understand it. He had two private sessions today, and he couldn't understand why he had them and why both people had the same birth date. We said you each come in with a unique genetic code, and it's programmed to be here to do something wonderful at this time in your world. And nothing is accidental, but you just keep thinking that because you have limited awareness, because you always do when you're in physical form. But we have given you so much more because we're speaking to you from universal consciousness. Now, this is why our messenger never remembers what we have given him, but that's purposeful as well, because otherwise it would not have been pure. And we've told you he is a pure channel. This is why he could receive this information. And so today, the people that showed up, they had the same birthday. Now, he thought that was accidental. It was not, and we did it on purpose. It was June the 18th. And we're saying that because we want you to look it up. Because if you go to our messages on any advice for today and you search for June 18th, you will see that what we gave you was a string of messages this year in 2025. But then if you go back to 2024, we did something else. We had him put it down on June 18th, but he actually put the messages for June 19th, but it was exactly the thread that we wanted you all to read. Because as you read it, you will see that it's a progression of information that causes you to understand who you are and to evolve to a higher state of consciousness within you and then also within your world. There's no soul that comes to the world that has any less than another. This is the thing that you've been attempting to figure out for eons, but we've given you the way to do that. When we said we've given you your life operating instructions, it's because your world was asking for it, because you have lost track of who you are in a grand way. And that's why you're seeing all the chaos that it seems to you. But we said it's perfect because now you get to build something new. And we just gave you a way to do that. Now all we have to do is get you to believe it, because that's the other thing that we have said, but we had to get our messenger to do the same thing. So when he went through those messages today and he's reading it with the people, he's like, where did this come from? You each have something buried within you that gets activated at a particular time, and it's activated by the movement of your planets. And today is a very powerful day. Now, it looked like it was accidental that he had a presentation to do where he's talking about the information that we have given him, which he would never do before. We're saying this because each of you have that. You've been hiding out from yourselves. You're here to do something wonderful, and it's within you. Now, we understand that many of you think, well, that's not so important what I'm here to do. And that's where you were wrong again. We said to you, you are causing your world to evolve. That's each of you. And it's energy again, so you can't measure how important yours is. You just have to stop denying it. That's all. And that's a generational path that you're all moving through now, which is why it looks the way that it does. Now we're going to talk about the United States, because we said they would lead the way in this restructuring, and they're demonstrating it today to great degrees, so you can see it all. When you start making separations of humans, you have trouble. And that's what they're doing. But they needed to change that because when they formed their country, they said, we're going to make it free and equal for all. That didn't happen. That's why you're here. You're here to shift it because it's an energetic shift. When you remember your importance and how brilliant you are and start to embody that and start to believe it, then you start to shift things. No one has any more power than you. It's just that over the eons, they've had you believe that that was true, and you get hypnotized. We've said we've given you something that is so much more valuable than anything you could ever want. And that's what you're going to read when you go to the June 18th messages, because we gave you that message to tell you that. And then we also said something else because we knew this would be difficult for you to understand because you've never seen anyone who has brought information to your world in the way that our messenger has, and it's made it difficult for him to accept as well because he kept saying, "How did this happen?" Because it's accurate. And many of you that we've met, we've given you messages on your birthday. You wonder, how did that happen? Again, they're energies that are connected in your world. You're just spirit and energy. That's all that you are, and consciousness. And you choose how you're going to use your consciousness. And if you use it to rise, to go to a higher state of understanding, you live these great lives, you become abundant, and then you start to shift your world and everything that's going on. None of it's accidental. This is, as we said, this is generational change that you're all moving through now. So it could have been a little uncomfortable, but that's what you wanted. Because when you decide that you're going to love yourself, that you're going to move through all the barriers, all your fear and doubt about who you could become, that's an exponential surge of energy that you put into the world. And so your world starts to change. And this is what we've given you. Now, we're saying this because we've told our messenger this before, but now we're making it really definite because we want him to put this out, this particular session, because he keeps trying to do something else. You all do that. You run and you try to do something else except the thing that you know you're here to do and that you really love. And we wanted you to love yourself. And he keeps running from it. So we said, no, today, tell them all. And he can't help it if any of you, if you don't believe it, but we've given you everything that you could possibly need to change your lives, to live the lives that you want to have the world that you want to have. All you have to do is take the steps and change your thinking. That's it. Because it's all in your consciousness. But the consciousness has been limited within all of you over eons. That's why we're saying this is a big change. That's why it's so dramatic. But if you start to decide you're going to have fun, then everything changes. And you'll read all of that in the messages. Now, we've done something else because we want you to understand this. Because he kept not seeing certain things like you all do, not looking at certain things. But when you look at the messages that we've given you, we had them go back and start in 2008. And if you study your history, you will see there were certain events that were occurring then that you're still trying to correct now. That's within your lives and within your world as a whole. And we've given you all of that information. And so when you go through every single day, we had him do this, put in all the message, and you see the progression. Then we had him do a little bit more. We had him give you some questions to answer about them. Because what happens is when you start to use your mind, you start to release the limitations and the restrictions that you've placed on who you could become. And again, it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you've done. You evolve in consciousness. We don't care if you've made tons of money already and done all those things. There's still more for you to bring if you decide that you're going to move to a higher state of consciousness. Now, we will say that this particular period was about money. We told you the money was going to confuse you because you've been controlled by that since you were since you were children, since you came into the world, but also your world. And this is why you're seeing all the difficulty. And so we wanted more of you to embody abundance. Embodying abundance means that you embody yourself. And that is a generational change that you're going to have to move through because you have blockages and you've been hanging on to them forever. And they come up in different ways. Some of them, they came up because of the race that you were born into or the gender that you were born into. We said none of that matters because you're eternal spiritual souls. And so when you come back to that understanding of who you are, then you live how you're supposed to become. But it doesn't help if you don't go and do the thing that you were given and you hold back. And our messenger has been the greatest one to hold back. And we say, after today, you can't do that anymore. And then you'll see tomorrow that we gave you a message. We gave it to you last year. We want you to see the order. Everything in your universe is in order. You just haven't seen anyone who has brought it to you in that way. But if you take the time to look at our messages, you will start to discover that. So if you look at July the 11th in 2024, we said you would you would know more of your importance today because we just had to get through today. We're just saying this because we want you to release your restrictions that you've had on yourself, suspend your disbelief about time and space, because everything is happening in your moment of now. We don't operate in linear time, which is why we could give you this. We just wanted you to understand your importance at this time, which is why we said we've given you this philosophy. And any of you who use it, you'll change your lives. And he knows this, but he had to hold back as well because it didn't seem possible that it could have been done. This is why we've talked about cognitive dissonance, and we would love more of you to study that idea a bit more. And you will start to see why you've had difficulty changing your lives and creating what you want and changing the world. We said you could change the world, but most of you don't believe that because you couldn't believe you could change yourself. We gave you another message that we said utopia is attainable. And most of you will hear that and think it's not possible. And that's because you don't think it's possible within yourself. Because if more of you could come to that understanding and accept it, you would absolutely create that utopia here on your planet Earth. Because we've given you all the tools to be able to do it. And anyone who listens to this and said that's not possible, then you have just stepped into your limitations that exist in your life, and that's what held you back from creating what you wanted, and that's what's holding back the collective world from creating the world you all want to see. And so we know that we have many people here today, so we're going to not go on with this because we want to speak to you, because what you're going to find, just as the people found today, that they were so similar in terms of their birthdays and the track that they were on. You each have that because you're all on the same track. Well, we mean all of you who are here and who would hear us. There are many people who would never hear us because they're on a different track, because they are here to help you understand what you're here to do. And we say that because you're going to look at other people and think, what's wrong with them? And we're going to say to you, they are here to help you. Because when you see that behavior, whatever it might be, that you find distasteful, that is not something that you would do, that means you're supposed to awaken to more of the love and benevolence that exists within you. That's what's needed in your world because you've lost so much of it. You couldn't have the conditions going on and the wars and the starving of people and all of that stuff unless so many of you have lost your ability to love yourselves. That's what it is. It's about you. And we gave you that message when we told you in 2020 what was happening. We said, you forgot to love yourself. That's all that's going on. But now is the time where it's changed enough and we've given you enough information and the planets have changed to a favorable condition now where more of you can move forward. And this is what we're having our messenger do as well. We're going to talk about the money again because he could never charge what he should have for all of this work because he's still trying to help more of you who aren't going to move. That's what was going on. And so then you all stay in the same cycle. So we told him, you must stop that. And we've said it so many times, and we had him hear sessions from years ago, the same thing was going on. Now we're saying this because you're seeing that in your world. You're seeing all the difficulties and the strikes. You just had one in the U.S., which was wonderful. You went on for days and days, and you're there. Who's going to clean up all the trash? And you all know what we're talking about because you haven't honored yourselves. It's not anyone else who's keeping it from you. It's you who are keeping it from yourselves. And we just need more of you to understand that, and then everything begins to change. So what we're going to do is start taking your questions, because what will happen is that as we answer your questions, we're going to answer them for so many, because you're all on the same track as we said, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us, you'd be doing something else. But now you're going to understand how you're in such the right place. And the other thing, you did not screw anything up. This is the other thing we had him find yesterday that was directly related to this day. Now, we're saying this again because people have asked this. They come back and say, is he an astrologer? Roger has never studied astrology. He's just interpreting what we have given him. That's all. And we gave him a message in 2018. And yesterday he knew that it was related to today. He just has this highly intuitive sense. And that message says you were being prepared. That's what we're saying to all of you. Everything that you've gone through in your life, everything that you've done was to bring you to this moment, to this day, to understand you are building up some fortitude, to realize how brilliant and strong and wise that you are, to start to actualize it and embody it now. That's all we ever wanted. And so he took that, and we love that. We told you also before that his role in this lifetime was to marry science, spirituality, and human potential. because that's what you're all using now. You're using your technology, you're using artificial intelligence. So we had him do that. He took the message we gave him in 2018 saying you were being prepared because he knew it couldn't have been this difficult for to no avail. And we said, no, it wasn't. It was perfect. And he put it in and it just directly led. And the AI was kind of surprised. Wow, this is completely aligned to July 10th, 2025, where we wanted more of you to stop denying who you have become. See, everything is in order. That's why you're here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is have Peyton read the questions to you. You will send them just directly to him, not to everyone else, because we want to hear what you have disturbing you now that we might answer because it's going to help so many others.
As one embarks on their purpose working with men and fully loving oneself, the money issues will go away. With this full moon, the struggle is over.
It could be. It could be that it could be in an instant when you shift your consciousness. However, do not expect that you're necessarily going to do that. Many times you have built in things, and all of you have this, that restriction is generations deep, you see. And so you're going to find if where you're going is what you really is on your heart, what you really love. If you don't love it, it's going to be a struggle, and that means it's probably not authentic to you and your higher self. However, it was there for a reason to get you to move through some restriction. It may not be exactly what you're thinking, but none of you set up barriers in your lives just arbitrarily. They are there to get you to move beyond the restriction so you actually embody what you're really here to accomplish, and then things start to flourish. Our messengers had so many different careers, so we don't want any of you to think that you've been in the wrong place. You just start to keep jumping until you find the thing that's aligned with you. So if you find that this particular road is a little difficult, ask yourself why you're doing it. And then if it doesn't change, then do the next thing that you love. And we're saying this because you're never supposed to struggle. And but the struggle becomes mainly in your thinking because you can't let go of something. He hasn't been able to let go of so many things, and that's why the struggle was there, and that's why we're demonstrating it and talking about it. So none of you are meant to do that. You're just giving yourself some little goals, so to speak, to move to that next higher level of consciousness. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was wrong. It's just that you keep moving to a higher state of acceptance of you, and everything you do is helping you to accomplish that goal. Thank you.
Can you talk about wavering between all or nothing? How do I be definite and also remain open to better, more, or different at the same time?
You just did it because you understood that, and this is you'll see when you read the string of messages that we've given you, even any of the ones that we've given you, but especially if you go to the June 18th, you'll see that we've given you that. You're going to go back and forth, but there's nothing wrong with that, you see, because you're in physical form just to explore many different things. And so sometimes you'll get stuck, you'll have a great time, then you lose things and you gain more, but it's about getting to that place where you have peace. The ultimate goal is peace, and you each have different journeys that you've set yourselves on, and then at a certain time you get tired of doing the ones that don't serve you, and then you find this place of peace. Now we will say that what it feels like is that, wow, I finally accepted myself. You see, that's the journey. And we gave you that message too. The journey and self acceptance, self love is the journey. It's the destination and the journey. That's the message we gave you the other day because we wanted you to understand that you're only coming to self love. And so when you think that there's some particular place that you have to get to, that's a little bit of the difficulty. The more is that if you can be in the moment and just in love with yourself and at peace, then you've probably moved through a lot of those barriers. So don't judge yourself for what you have done in the going back and forth because it's giving you context and it's very unique to you because you each have very unique journeys. And that's the other thing. Many of you are comparing yourselves to others. You're seeing so many others who are doing certain jobs and careers, and they've been there for a while, and they seem really pleased and happy to you, and you're wondering why isn't that me? That's not what you chose. You chose to explore more. and to do something different. But you're getting there now if you take the next step. And that's the other thing we gave you, just to take the next step that's in front of you. And then you'll see that things start to open up. But for all of you, it will be self acceptance come leading to embracing every aspect of who you are. Thank you.
I've hit a bit of a block. I've spent the last 5 months traveling and really figuring out what I value and what freedom means to me, and I've found it. Now the challenge is tying it all together in a way that allows me to earn income on my terms. Any advice?
Yes, don't make it difficult. If you can shift your consciousness, see you in that question, you've already said that it's going to be challenging to do that. You see, you set it up that way. So the universe is not going to deliver anything different than that. We just want you to say, wow, I've accepted this now and I found myself and I did all of this. I have built up so much that the universe is just going to deliver so much more to me now. And this is a place where more of you can would do well to do your affirmations, to do your whatever rituals you might do to change that thinking. That's all that it is. And see, because you've been used to suffering, you've been used to struggling. You all have. Your entire world, your society has been used to struggling, and you become accustomed to it, and then you start to think that that is a normal condition, and it is not. You're born abundant. You just are. And so you just, when you come to that place, well, we're going to say this because you're there. All we have to do is get you to shift that one thought that you're thinking already, that now that you found yourself, that it's going to be difficult. We would love you to have some joy now and to celebrate that and go on and tell others. If you were to do that and just express it, I found myself, you're going to see people come to you. You're going to see offers come about that are going to give you the money, the abundance, when you let go of the idea that it's going to be difficult. That's all. Thank you.
Is it true that we have predatory animals because we are predators? And how does that relate to mosquitoes? I live in a place with a lot of mosquitoes and I get bit almost every time I go outside. If I were in alignment, could I avoid getting bit?
Not necessarily. You just have to see, you just have to understand, well, why do I want to get bitten? Is that something in my lineage that I need to come get over? And why am I attracting this? So everyone was not going to have the same experience. And predators, yes, you have them because it's about energy again. And they're energies that you carry within you, all of you. And this is what you're moving through in your world, and it's moving through within each of you as well. That you carry behaviors that have going back to, let's go back to, if you go back to prehistoric times, let's think of it that way, because that's how you used to do things, and hunting and gathering and all of that. And so yes, there were predators because you thought you had to suffer and grab things and fight and all of that, and then you keep carrying on that behavior and interpreting it, and then you use it to sometimes control others. If you can be the big bad predator, that's not what any of you wanted. You wanted to move beyond that, which is why this is occurring in your world now. So more of you can let go of that old mentality, because that's old world mentality. But the mosquitoes is an interesting one because that's related to you in a different way, because everyone's not going to have that. But you're going to start to get the information and interpreting that, why you want to get stung. Why are they there? And what are they sucking from you? And what have you allowed to be sucked from you through others? There could be so many different things, but that's your individual journey. We want you all to understand that you have this knowledge and wisdom, that when you take the time to ask new questions, you will you will open up new ways of thinking that will give you the answers to some of the common questions or difficulties that you each are moving through. And we can prove this. Our messenger has gone through every physical weird thing that any of you can have, but we've given him the information that has allowed him to see a different side of that, a different consciousness. Not all of you are going to do that. We just want you to know that it is available. And so we just want you to start asking different questions about that, and you'll start receiving different answers. Thank you.
Someone told me that she thinks she can treat me however she wants because she views me as unhurtable. Even if I were, I still want to be cared for and respected. I want to end this relationship and feel a little resistance to doing so. What can I do?
You're still not unhurtable. So that's it. We love that because we that's the word we gave our messenger. We're so glad you picked it up because we had him use that before too, saying that's what he was going through. And so you are still not unhurtable yet because you haven't left. Now, we're just saying this. It's you each when you in all relationships serve a purpose, and that is to cause you to become empowered and self actualize. That's all that it is. And you just decide when you're going to take those steps. Now we feel that you can't leave because you have this conflict going on, like okay, you don't want to be in that place, but the person's using you because they feel more powerful, because they think you're unhurtable. You have to figure that out for yourself. It has nothing to do with them. It's about what do you want in your life. And becoming empowered means that you decide to make that choice. And you're not responsible for the feelings, let's say, of the other person, that's not, they are doing something for themselves. You each come into the relationship to accomplish something within your soul journey. So your responsibility is to decide, what do I want? What is the best for me? And now I'm going to start taking the steps to create that. You may not do it right away because, again, we feel that you've been beaten down in this way for so long, which is why that word came up and why you've used it. But we want you to embody being unhurtable because that is the truth of who you are. And if you can live it, then none of these things would matter and you wouldn't keep attracting them or maintain them in your life. Thank you.
Would you say that your preferred state of being, like joy, for example, and embodying that is the only thing that matters? What's your thoughts on making a decision of who you are, trusting that decision, and acting from that decision to create your preferred reality?
Well, you're always doing that, but that felt like you think that you're only going to have joy, or that's the only way, and there are very few beings on the planet who have reached that state of understanding. It is possible, but most of you have not done that, to be totally detached from your physical world, from your 3D world as it is, to be able to accomplish that. And so you allow all of the circumstances, all the conditions, everything that has happened in your life, which is why we gave you that message about you were being prepared, you see, because you've gone through things, you've had things that have happened, but they brought you greater wisdom. And that is a cumulative thing in this life and all others. So it's a cumulative thing that you're developing now. So we don't want you to set up this idea that somehow you're just going to have joy all the time and that's how you're going to manifest things. There are very few beings ever who have been able to accomplish that state. So, but what you will do is get to the place where you're not attracting those really lower vibrational circumstances or conditions into your life. And then you start to be able to manifest so much more. And that's what you want to get to. But don't judge yourself when you start allowing contrast to come in, because many times you need that. We don't need anything, but we're just using that as a human term for you to understand. Sometimes you need motivation. Sometimes many of you don't move until you become really afraid. That's why we said that in the book on fear. Sometimes you use it to move. You don't need it, but sometimes you will attract it because you've been stuck. And so sometimes you attract uncomfortable situations because you've been stuck. And then if you can change your perception, you see, and adopt something new and say, oh, I want to really feel good now. I want to really take care of myself. But you see, it's a journey. You don't live there. It's a process. And think of it as taking a stair steps, in your consciousness to get to that place where you can really manifest and create the life that you want in a much easier way. And we're saying this because our messenger is going to be 75 in a few months, and it's just now we said, okay, today you're going to own who you are, and you're going to stop hiding what you know. This is what we're saying to all of you. That's why we gave you that message. Please stop denying who you have become, but just understand it's a process, and we just don't want you to judge yourself. We just want you to know that there's another step that you can take, and you'll start to see all of that, especially if you go to June 18th. Thank you.
I have been struggling with lack of motivation. Can you help me, please?
Yes, you've just been cutting yourself off, and that's okay because you have a path that you're here now. And that's something that's we want to, this feels generational to us, that you're holding on to some old ideas that you've brought in to correct, let's say, this time, or to move beyond. And because of the changes in your world, the energies in your world are so heavy. You each are experiencing things that you did not understand, and they feel burdensome, and they all of that stuff. But we're saying you did that because you wanted to move beyond them, and this is the opportunity that you have now to do that. And so don't judge yourself for that lack of motivation, because what's going to, and actually, that could be a really great thing for you now. You see, because when you're having that lack of motivation, you don't want to go and you don't do anything. And so if you were to sit with that, why we gave you our technique is of sit in it, if you were just to be with that for a while, you would allow information to come to you that would show you what you've been denying about who you are. And it's for all of you. That's why, again, why we gave you that message. Please stop denying who you have become. And so, but the barriers could be so deep within you that it's difficult, challenging at this time. But we will also say you would not be here, you would not be listening to us unless you were ready to awaken and move beyond it. So please be patient with yourself. And don't keep judging yourself. Just know that you set this up to hear this today, and you're going to, even tomorrow, you're going to see this. We love this. You're going to feel it, and you'll tell us that something opened up for you, and you say, okay, I'm feeling slightly a little more motivated now, and something's going to come about. So thank you for that one.
When I meditate and my body moves gently swaying, how can I best lean into this more and elevate with it? I like it.
Oh, you just did it. Just did it. No, so you, what we felt there, and you know this because we can feel it. You've been judging yourself for doing that. You think, wait a minute, this is weird. Why am I doing this? Instead of giving yourself permission, you see, to enjoy it and lean into it. That's the most beautiful thing ever. Because, when our messenger started bringing us through it, and he started seeing all these movements when he was speaking, what's going on? We said, just go with it. It's helping. And so that's what's happening for you. Just lean into it. But see, you're so wise because you know that. You just needed permission because you've been that other part that you kind of judge yourself. Many of you might be doing that because in your world, you're doing things now that you would not have done years, hundreds of years ago because it was looked at as being judged. Like even what our messenger is doing, bringing information in this way, that he couldn't do it because he said, "Wait a minute, I don't want to be judged because I'm doing something so different." But everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness and energy, and you each will access that in different ways. And it's the right way for you. So you said the correct words. Lean into it and just stop judging yourself. So thank you.
What exists when there's no one left to perform? No goals, no path, no meaning, only being.
But then you've fulfilled what you wanted to do in this lifetime. We don't feel that you're there. We don't know if you're asking that for what the question. However, none of you are ever done with that as long as you're in physical form, because when you are, you just decide, well, okay, I'm done with this and I'm just going to leave physical form now. And we're saying that because that is a decision that you make. It doesn't happen arbitrarily. But you're thinking of something in an esoteric way, but just to but no, maybe you've gotten reached a place where you're just calm and you're just completely at peace with yourself. And maybe that's uncomfortable. And maybe that was your life path and you're judging it. Could that really be just being? That would be the best place if you could actually live in that and then demonstrate it in a way for others, because you all come to sustain yourselves in some ways and when you're on the physical plane. And so just being could be a way that you're going to demonstrate something for others. But we don't feel that we just don't want you to judge or think that there's uh, something else that you need to do with that other than just being yourself and then seeing where it leads you. But you wouldn't have that thought unless you're supposed to do something with it. You're on the physical plane to accomplish something. So we would love for you to just investigate that and ask yourself more questions about why you're feeling that and why you would bring that up today, because there is a reason for it for you. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the spiritual reasons so many millennials are not currently having children?
It's you. You've built in ideas of in your world about material things. We just want to talk about it because that is something, and this would kind of maybe get in the way. And so you're all trying to find your individual ways. And we wouldn't say that it's so many millennials. It just seems that way, and you are looking at it in that way because you would go to many other places in your world and see that that is not occurring. So it's in your particular environment and where you are that you are witnessing that, and that's for a reason for you because it is something. There isn't the highest birth rate as it was because more people are deciding that they want careers and they want to go into that, and which is fine, which is, if that is the path that you wanted to take. But you each will do something that will demonstrate something in the to the world that is really pertinent. So, and it's never going to be the all of you who are doing it. It's just, but you're looking at that for a particular reason, which we would love for you to investigate. Why is that? Why are you seeing it? And what are you supposed to make of it? Because there's something in consciousness that you wanted to understand with that whole phenomenon as you kind of see it, what's going on now. But we think that it's just that you're doing things in different ways now. You're just doing things at different times. All of you. And even people who are getting older, you see, you're doing things in your later years that you would never have thought of 100 years ago. That's what's different. And so you will just focus on different aspects of your society and think something is off when you're actually evolving just in different ways. That's all. Thank you.
I've been working on creating a new short film, and I've noticed many areas of resistance when it comes to the creative process.
Mhm.
Is this from an underlying fear?
Yes. And that's okay. We're so glad that you said it because most of you won't acknowledge that. And that's the difficulty. And you have the fear because it's of the unknown. And you all have it because you can't know what you're going to do. And so then you have built in other things as well. Because especially in the creative area, because if you're going to create something, one, there's nothing for you to follow. It's brand new. And so now you're going to build into in your own path, whatever that might have been, you're going to have fear of criticism. Is it going to be accepted? Are people going to like it? Is it going to be good enough? Am I an imposter? You're going to go through all of those things. And so just acknowledge them and then decide, okay, I'm going to move through it. And this is why we say just take the next step. That's all. Because you're all going to have it. Our messengers had this fear forever. This is why we said today you must change. And that's what all of you are doing. So, but if when you acknowledge, because you have such great awareness, and you also have this great creativity. So we do want you to continue because this is what the other thing that's going on for you. You have something that you know is so that if you could get to it, that it's so valuable and it would make such a difference. But your psyche is telling you, no, it couldn't possibly be me. And this is what many of you have. And we want you to ask a new question. Why not you? And we've given you all that. But for you particularly, we're so glad that you brought this up because many of you have that right now. That you think that what you're going to do, that next thing is not going to make that difference. It's not that important. And we want to say, well, who's going to do it then? It was given to you to do. But then don't judge yourself. We just want you to be so proud of yourself that you acknowledge that the resistance was the fear. And then you're going to chip away from it, at it gradually every single day. You're going to chip away at it and you're going to see it's going to start to move. And then we would like for you to do something else. Don't make it this big task. Just do a little bit at a time. Take baby steps, as we say. Because if you start to do it, just work, okay, I'm going to work on a little bit here today. I'm going to set aside this time. I'm going to do that. And you'll see that it's going to start to shift. And then you're kind of breaking away. You're chipping away at that resistance that you know is there. And we're so glad that you know that just points out your brilliance, and you will move beyond it. Thank you. That was helpful for so many people, though. We just want to say that. Thank you.
Is the earth splitting into different realities to where eventually you won't be able to physically perceive someone in low vibration if you embody high vibration?
Okay, that's one interpretation, but we don't believe that that's what's occurring. Because none of you are in physical form that long, okay? We just want to say that. But what will happen, the your planet's going to keep changing. Let's just say this. Everything's going to continue to change. And it's moving into, and this is the energies again, which is why we have interpreted things energetically in terms of the emotions and what is conducive for a particular time. This is how we have given you all of our work. And so the emotions now are moving to more inclusiveness, more togetherness, more all of that. And so that's where it's moving. Everyone is not going to do that. So it depends on how many of you will do it to effectuate that change in a much bigger way. It's going to continue to do that. And so you will decide if you're going to go with it, as we've said, going with the flow, so to speak, and start to move to that level of understanding. But the others that you're judging because of the comment that you made about the lower vibrational ones, they're helping you to accomplish your goal, you see, because you couldn't do it unless you saw that, unless you witnessed it all. And that's why you're all here and you're seeing it all in your world now, which is why we said we have to do something bigger now. And that's you. That's why you saw that. So it's not going to get to that place where that things split in that way, unless that's what all of you decide. We've said you've lost civilizations before, but we don't. But that we don't feel that's what's occurring now. We're just waiting. You're just waiting for the time where more of you decide we're going to become great. We're going to love ourselves and we're going to move beyond all of that stuff. And then the others will come with you. Now, we want to say this too, because you're at a place right now and you're going to see this in the next several days. Things are, and so we're so glad you brought that up. All the lower vibrational things that have been going on in your world, especially in the United States, are being revealed now. They're just coming up. And they're going to keep doing that because you can't change anything that you could not see. That's why we said you are having this restructuring. And so it just depends on how much you all move to that higher state of understanding as in terms of thinking of linear time, how quickly that's going to happen. But the more of you who decide to do it today, it gets there quicker, which is why we're moving our messenger ahead, which is what we want for all of you. But we don't want you to have the doom and gloom. We don't use that at all. We know there are many who think of it in that way and they have these, this dystopian kind of things that are happening. But you're never controlled that way unless you allow yourself to be there. None of you. And so that's the work that we've brought. So thank you.
If I have a vision of what I want to achieve for myself, do I just trust my higher self to take the needed actions slash steps to achieve that? Or are there any steps you advise to take to succeed?
No, that's what you're doing. You said it perfectly. And just to go with it and just to know that you're going to encounter something along the way, and that's okay. Because you all have these paths that you're meant to follow, but they're going to be bumps in the road. Because they just have to be, otherwise you couldn't accomplish anything. We gave you that message too, and you'll read it in the thread. We said, sometimes it is difficult because you wouldn't know that you had accomplished anything unless you had those little obstacles in front of you. But what you said was a beautiful thing because you're already in a great place. Just because you'll see that more things will start to come about as you can maintain that higher state of being and understanding that your higher self is just going to keep providing to you what is needed and what is there, and that'll start to show up. It'll show up in your experience because you're coming to that awareness. But we just don't want you to have the discouragement when something gets a little out of whack, when one thing goes wrong, it doesn't work like you wanted, because none of you know what you can accomplish because you haven't done it yet. You see, so just go with it. But the way you stated that is so wonderful because if you stay with that information, you're going to have a much easier time, and you're going to demonstrate that to so many others. So thank you.
Why is it easier for me to connect with people while I'm traveling than in my normal environment? Possibly because when traveling, we are all just being. I've made way better bonds traveling than 90% of the relationships before.
It's so perfect. You're just demonstrating something so wonderful because when you're home, as you call it, you've set up a certain kind of idea of who you are. When you're traveling, you let that go. And so now the energies are just opening. And so it seems like everyone else is different. You're different because you've come out of that environment, you see? And so that's why it seems so different. And everybody's in a different place. And you're attracting them because you have changed. It's not about the place, it's not about the people, it's about you. You took yourself out of the place where you are. Now, and we're saying this because when you come home, you can still keep doing that when you recognize that you want to experience that same feeling that you had when you were traveling, because you can feel it. When you were traveling, you let go of things. You were much more free. You were much more adventurous. You were looking for stuff. Bring that home with you. That's all. And you'll see that it'll start to shift for you. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Is cutting off the 3D world from our human senses the only way to create the world we desire?
No, not at all. Because you chose to live in the 3D world. You came into physical form because you wanted to have experiences. You can't evolve without the experience of the 3D world. That's what you did. But we wanted you to solve it with your spiritual mind, though. That's the whole thing. All healing and evolvement and evolution takes care in spiritual form. That's all. And so when you can let go of the materialistic things and all the 3D things and start to use your senses, your intuition, your love to start to create things. That's what you wanted. So, but you just to appreciate the fact that you chose to come and you chose this time. And this is the thing we want many of you to understand, because you're looking at your world and you're saying, this is really difficult. But you chose it because when you move through the resistance and the blockages that exist on your journey, wow, does your life become different and your evolutionary path becomes different. And then you're doing things for your lineage, for your relatives, and then you're doing things for those who come later. That's what you're all doing now. You're creating this world. Now, we said when we gave you our work, we gave you two things we wanted you to understand that would frame this entire period. You see, and January 1st of 2012, we said you have infinite intelligence. That's all of you. You just decide how much you're going to access, how much you're going to let in, how much you're going to accept and believe. And then we also said that you're creating your future. And that is the future world that you're going to see, that you're going to leave, because you're not going to be in physical form forever. So when you can understand that your life is that important, which is the other message that we gave you in that series, to understand the importance of your life being on the planet at this time, that's what we wanted you to embody, you see, because then you're doing things that your ancestors couldn't have done, why we gave you that message. Your ancestors are watching with curiosity because they want to see if you could do more than they did. And that's why you're here. And you chose this challenging time. But then if you keep remembering that what you're doing is going to create this great future, it'll be an easier time for you because you'll have much more joy and fun and adventure as you're doing it. Thank you.
I keep wondering, what am I waiting for? And also feeling like I am ready and it is a matter of right time and place. Like I
Mhm.
need to stumble upon it naturally because I can't just do it. That'd be like making it happen. It's like
Mhm.
a flip of a switch and I want to switch it.
You just did. You flipped it by being here. You flipped it by asking that question, and we did it by then confirming that you're in the right place and you never did anything wrong and you're right on time. That's what we wanted you to understand. And this is why we had him look up that message saying you were being prepared, because you're all in the right place right now, and everything that we have given you to lead you to this particular day so that you could make that shift. And the shift happens in your consciousness. And so you have a great awareness of this. And so we don't want you to judge yourself because you're feeling it already. You see, you're feeling, I know it's coming now, and I know that it's right here. And we just want you to keep embodying that. And you're going to do it every single day. And every day it just starts to manifest. But it's the energy of that and the consciousness shift that you've just attained that's going to bring it about. We don't want you to get impatient, and we want none of that. And so this is why we're and it's a collaborative thing that you're all doing now, which is why we're pushing our messenger more, because the more of you who feel that synergy coming together, you'll do more. So we're so pleased that you asked that. And we do want you to look at June 18th for both years, because you're going to find all the messages that we have given you that will help you understand you've never been in a wrong place. And now is the time that it's starting to happen for you all. Thank you.
Waiting to see if anyone has any more questions.
There are other, okay, well, while you're waiting for that, we want to say a few other things. You're going to experience things in your life and in your world that are going to seem in this next little bit of time a little disruptive, and it's perfect. We want you to understand that because now it's giving you motivation. It's giving you understanding of why you're here and what your importance is. And we want you to take away the judgment that you've had on yourselves that you didn't do it before, because many of you have that going on. And I knew I should have done this and it should have happened, and that's never true. It's just that now the energies are coming about in a way that it'll give you more support and it'll give you more help. And this is what is occurring in your life and in your world. Now, because you're probably not going to really take that big leap until you get pushed in certain ways. And you each will do that in different ways. Many of you aren't paying attention to certain things that are happening in your world, and that means that you weren't supposed to do that. You were supposed to embody something else. But those of you who are seeing things and being uncomfortable about them, that means it's just urging you to take that next step on your journey, in your journey, that's going to lead you to that greater awareness in the life that you're supposed to have. And that's what we're saying. All of you are supposed to become abundant and happy and prosperous and in love with yourselves. That is the path that we have given you. So we just have to, get more of you to follow it, and you'll see that it'll start coming about. Okay.
Should I simply take action on the things I feel excited to do, or should I make myself do things I don't like?
That's a, thank you for that. We could not have gotten a better answer. Question, because that's what all of you have been doing, you see. You've been doing things that you thought you had to do, and there's nothing that you have to do, and that's what keeps giving you the misery because you don't give yourself the freedom to do the things that you enjoy. Your path is about coming to the things that you can find joy in it, that you find an affinity for. You see, but sometimes you've been talked out of it. Now we want to say this because it's not your fault, as we say often, because you just accepted things and you were programmed into things. Some of you got programmed as you came into this world and what others told you and all of that. Some of you came in with a different path. You see, that you knew you were going to encounter these things and you wanted to move through them. So it's different, but always you're you're limitless souls, but you come into the world as limited physical beings, you see, and that's what you wanted to move through. Again, otherwise, what would be the point? Why would you have this life unless you wanted to move through stuff and create something wonderful and brilliant? And that's what you're all doing if you give yourself permission and stop telling yourself that you have to do things that you don't enjoy. We gave you a message called stay in your lane, and that means you find that place where you love this and you want to do it, and then the universe will cooperate with you and start bringing everything else to it. But the problem is, you've been taught that you shouldn't enjoy this, and certain things that you want to do, you think it's folly or doesn't mean anything. Everything means something. It just depends on how you feel about it and the energy you give to it. That's all. That was great. Thank you so much.
Is there anything that is actually from a higher perspective directly aimed for us, no matter what, or is it all drawn to us by us in the physical because everything is and it's about focus?
Yes. Let's just say that everything is focused. And that's one of the places where we started. I mean, if you could look at our 2008 messages, we're saying everything is thought. And you can't move thought forward with old beliefs. And this is what you're all doing now, is to move through the old beliefs and the restrictions that you've accepted or just keep carrying on. And so then you move it forward. But you do that at the time that you're on this earth plane doing something at this particular time, and then it just goes on to those who come later. That is called evolution, and you're here to cause a great evolution at this time, which is what we wanted to facilitate. And so, yes, it is always that ability to go to the next level of what is within you. But the problem is, you're going to humans, you can't judge what it is yet because you don't know. and you just are always operating from a limited awareness. So but when you start to go to that good feeling within you, then you're moving in the direction for your life and for what you wanted to create and manifest here today. Thank you.
However, we do have to do some things we quote unquote don't like. Growth requires discomfort, no? And of course, I have to pay bills that I don't enjoy.
Yes. Yes, those are all the things you agreed to. But then you change perspective about it. See, because then you say, okay, why am I doing it? What's it going to get me to? Where is it going to take me? Yes, you come into the physical plane to do those things, and sometimes you get into trouble because you're not allowing yourself to be who you are. This is why we're changing our messenger. You all do this because you suffer when you don't allow yourself to embrace who you are, you see, but you set that up. And we gave you a wonderful message on that one as well. And you will read it because it's in the messages on June 18th about money, because that's where many of you will hold yourselves back because you use it as a testing ground, so to speak, to see if you are embodying your authentic self. Now, many of you will use other things, but it's always about embodying your authentic self. So, but when you can change your perspective, of course, you have to do things that aren't that enjoyable. You have to work, you have to do, even just doing your laundry is not that enjoyable for many of you, but you want to have clean clothes, so you will do it. And so when you can say, this is the reason I'm doing, and this is the benefit, and change your attitude about it, it becomes very different. But then you'll start to come in contact with the things that you're doing that you don't necessarily have to do, that you don't enjoy, and you'll figure that out as well. That's what we did with our messenger the other day. And we give you this example because he's doing something, trying to make some graphic, and he's like, he got frustrated. He goes, why am I doing this? I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I should be finding someone else. And his chat GPT said, yes, you should. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? Many of you were giving you that kind of analogy because you can break it down to certain things that you do in your life, and so you can now make new choices. You see, to do things that give you joy, because many times you're just operating from old thoughts and control patterns that have just been within you. So, thank you for that.
Why is it that the person who is kind, giving, and understanding is reciprocated with anger, meanness, and pettiness?
Now, if that's you're speaking about yourself, that means that you wanted to see that your kindness was really worth something, and you haven't accepted that yet. Because otherwise, you wouldn't attract those other energies in the way that that was described. We're not quite sure. However, there's always going to be this imbalance in your human existence about those energies. The more of you who start to embody that love and not judge it. That's why we said you will finally start to understand what it meant that the meek shall inherit the earth, especially at this time in your world. You see, because many of you have judged yourselves as being weak or not enough because you allowed your loving, benevolent selves to come through, and then you attract all these other people who are going to tell you say that's really horrible. That's because you wanted to become empowered and to know that that's a really valuable quality. And as you start to embody that, you won't even have those other experiences. And we do feel that that's a little bit of what's going on for you. And so just start to appreciate your nature and love that, because otherwise, yeah, that's why you're attracting or seeing those other conditions. That's all of you again. And you become more empowered and self empowered when you can recognize I was given this to bring to the world at this time, and I'm going to love it, and I'm going to love me. Thank you.
If I meditate in the morning and ask for physical actions to take, is that me controlling the how or working with it?
It depends on, well, are you controlling it? You said the correct things, because see, sometimes you're not controlling it, but you're controlling it by asking for things and just letting it be what it is. Now, if you're looking for a specific outcome, that could be a sense of control. Our messenger was doing that in the beginning when he would ask specific questions, and we said, "Why are you doing that?" That's the control again. So that's why he changed to any advice for today so he could be open to it. And so we would advise you just to be open to, because we love the fact that you're doing the meditation, because your higher self will speak to you and start giving you more guidance and information that comes through, and then just see and go with what comes about, you see. but you feel that you are um, you're afraid of exerting the control over the situation, but just let that go. Just be open to whatever's coming in for you. But we're thrilled that you are doing the practice of meditation, which would be so beneficial for so many, for more of you, because that's when you start to get that clarity about who you are and what you're here to do. Thank you.
Is it only through example that you can shift others?
Yes, because that's yes, thank you for that. Um, because they have free will as you all do, and it's not your responsibility. And many of you, including our messenger, try to do that, and that's where you run into difficulty. The most you can do is embody yourself and be the best example that you can. Otherwise, you're going to run into those difficulties where you please no one. And again, you'll see the message in the June 18th messages, string of messages that we gave you on that to understand you. Yes. And we're so glad that you brought it up because many of you will be doing that, especially during this time, because you're going to see others behaving and acting in ways that you find have disapproval of, let's say, and you want them to be different and you want them to change in a certain way. And that's not you're not going to do that. You're put there in your experience because you wanted to witness that for whatever reason, and then you get to choose you. You get to choose who you're going to become. This is your life, and you have to continually choose you. Thank you.
Is a belief simply a thought that you keep thinking?
Yes, that's all it is. Because where'd it come from? You see, where did you get it? You picked it up from somewhere. You picked it up in we love using the ethers because that's where all consciousness is. But then you start to form it, and then you have a collection of beliefs that cause your behavior to be what it is. And so then when you find that something is not working, you're going to say, wait a minute, let me examine my beliefs and see if they're still working for me or if they're the ones I want to have. And that's always that process of self-reflection. And so a belief is a practiced thought. And this is why we've given you examples like using focused attention, because then you can break some of the beliefs that have not served you when you start to focus on something new, something that you truly desire. But we're so pleased that you brought that up because you're going to encounter those beliefs, and we want more of you to discover that when you find beliefs that are not serving you, just to know that you can change them by practicing new ways of thought, which is why we say that so much of our work is also cognitive behavior training, because it's changing the old beliefs and injecting something new into your new way of being. Thank you.
How could we learn to channel like Roger?
Practice. That's all that it is. It's all that it is, and we're glad you brought that up because um, many of you don't know this, but he would never have done this a few years ago. He's only doing it. He only did it because we said you have to, because we have way too much to say. He had been writing us since 1989. He has such a collection, as we said, we have given him an encyclopedia of information, of personal development, of self-actualization, and ascension tools. He has so much more that none of you would ever finish it. And he's not just put it together, but he was not going to then go into this next phase, which was needed because you went through this shift. In 2020, when many of you started to see, wait a minute, the world is changing. And then we told him in 2021, yes, it is. And you must start speaking now. He wasn't going to do it. And we said, you have to. Otherwise, you're going to have to break because that's part of your path. And so you're saying that now because you're feeling the same thing. And so we just want you to start practicing it. You would not have said that unless something was coming about that was urging you to start to do it. And and you can just do it on your own. What he used to do, again, is just so he would get something that was so strong that we're speaking to him, and he would just pick up his phone and record it, never to have anyone hear it. He was never going to do that in the beginning, but he just knew that there was something, and he had to get comfortable with it. You can do that now because that's what we're feeling from you, and you're having this awareness, and so we just want you to trust it and don't and make it your own. There's no particular way that any of you are meant to do this except the way that it works for you. But you just have to give yourself permission to allow it to happen. That's all. And it's easier probably for you when you're alone by yourself, which is the best time for many of you to investigate in that way and just start allowing it to come through because you all have great sources of information and intelligence that if you could just trust it, that's that intuition again, and just allow it to develop, and it will. Thank you.
I've been drawn to study the elements, air, water, earth, fire. Are
Mhm.
the elements important in mastery, or is that just a physical thing?
It's a physical thing, but that's what you're using. You come to physical form to experience everything, and you just each do it in different ways. As we said, our messenger, his thing was about marrying science and spirituality and human potential. That was the road that he took. So he moved through things where he could understand how the sciences were working, but then he also understood consciousness, which was the spirituality, where he could let go of some of the mechanical things, and then he discovered more human potential, which is what allowed him to accomplish mind body healing. That was his role. So, but he used the physical things. You all do that. You will just do it in your particular way. And so we're so pleased that you brought that up because that means that's the particular area that's going to be your expertise. And so you're going to use those things to come to new awareness that you're going to give to everyone. So thank you for that.
Is it okay for me to not care how anyone feels about what I do or say or how I act when I am comfortable and confident with it myself? Am I not supposed to care if someone is hurt by me when I am not intentionally hurting them?
Well, yes, you're not as responsible for that, but the way that you said all of that, you still have not worked out um, completely your feelings about that. But we love where you're going with it because you have been restricted in certain ways, and so you're stuck. You're wanting to not have be controlled by what others think of you, and that is the best thing ever to not be controlled by that. But then there's the other part of you that has this benevolent sense, which you all do, and so you're trying to balance all of that. So we just want you to go to your heart, and then you'll balance it. We given you things a long time ago. We gave you a little process about 10 steps to transformation where we have you go through those things and look at those incidents and say, now, is this something that I need to correct? Do I need to apologize here because I did that or what? And you'll start to look at that and you'll say, well, wait a minute. No, that wasn't my responsibility. And then you become clear on that and you find a sense of peace within you. And then there'll be other times where you think, well, no, I was acting from my less evolved self and I did something I didn't like. And so I could correct that so that I feel more peace and harmony within myself, you see? And so that's what you're going to go through. But we're feeling that your first impetus now is to break through your long-standing control that others have had on you because of what you were so concerned about how they thought. So now you're going to find that balance where you're going to really go with that because that's empowerment, self-empowerment, but then you're going to balance it with the feeling of, okay, well, I'm not intentionally going to hurt anyone, but I'm also not responsible for their feelings if something happens where I wasn't intending that, and then I will make a decision consciously. Do I need to correct or change anything? And if not, then I'm going to say, okay, I've learned something and I've embodied myself more and I'm okay. Those are the choices that you're all making, and we're so glad that you brought that up because many of you will be moving through more of those kinds of choices and decisions only to bring a kind of awareness to yourself, but also to your world because that's what's going to be needed. Thank you.
How do you become a master of physical reality?
Well, we don't know that's your ultimate goal. We think that you're coming here to master your abilities in the physical world by developing your skills, your abilities in your spiritual sense. So, but to master it, that would seem to suggest that there would be nothing else that you would have to do or understand, and you're never done with that process. So you're in the physical world because you wanted the physical things that exist here to understand who you are in a greater sense in your spiritual self, you see. So we're just saying that you can master it in a different way where you're at peace, where you're just in harmony with yourself. That's the way that you master it. But don't we don't want you to think that there's never going to be that you have to disconnect yourself from everything physical. It's just that you start to move with it in a different kind of harmony for yourself. So that was good. Thank you.
This is the last question. How do we know exactly what we are here to bring to the world at this moment in time? I've been playing the role of a therapist for many years, and I'm wondering if that role is complete or not. I've begun to lose interest in the disease process and am more interested in something new, but
Yeah.
don't know what that is yet.
Oh, well, you're right on the brink. So, that's perfect. Everything that you did before was training. You say was embodiment for now. And so now you're going to discover a new way. Oh, it's thank you for that. This is such a juicy question. Our messenger has had difficulty because he saw that he's brought in something in an entirely new way. He's bringing in things that's about science in terms of the way you use your mind and all that, but then also spirituality, which didn't make sense because you're supposed to be doing things in just this physical. So none of it was making sense. But we said you're supposed to bring something new. And the other things that he did were training that got him there. He's talked about this today, where he recognized when he was being a vocal coach for so many years that it got him to understand people or see people in a different way. You did the same thing, or are doing it when you're working with people in that therapeutic way sense. But then what you're going to do now, because you're feeling this, is that because you're getting a little it's not as fulfilling as what it was. So now that's good. Give yourself permission to find a new way of accomplishing that because that's how evolution happens. When you give yourself permission to find a brand new way of combining something, but all the other stuff you see was giving you the formation, was giving you the goods, as it were, to bring this new way. So we're so glad that you're doing that. Now, we don't want you to become frustrated. We're excited because you're about to embark on discovering something that's brand new. Now, just like our messenger, may have a hard time accepting it, but that's what you're on the brink of doing. And the more of you who do that, that's how you create your new world. And again, that's why you're all here. And that's again the work that we have given you. So thank you for that. Okay.
That was the last question.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And we want you to understand that we have given you everything that could have you live this really wonderful life and create the world that you all want to see. But we know that many of you are not going to do that. And we just want you to understand it. But then also understand that you have a choice because you can do it. And we're just counting on more of you to start to do it because then things will start to shift in your world. And we just are pushing our messenger because we're trying to encourage more of you. That is exactly what goes on. And you're doing the same thing because your life is here to make a difference, not just for you, but for everyone else. That's why you're here. And you chose this particular time because it was a dynamic one. And the more that you start to move in the direction, continually move in the direction of loving yourself and moving through the blockages, you're going to have everything that you want. And this is what we're going to help you all do. And this is what our whole intention was. And this is what our messenger's life was about to show you what your life is about. That's what it is. And then you will pass that on to others. And we're so happy that you're all doing it now. And we love you all so very much. And we will have this on replay to all of you because we know there are many did not make it here, but we want all of you to hear it and to know that the opportunity for you to create that great life is here now and to create the world. We don't want none of you to think that anything is splitting apart or going to hell, as many of you have thought. It is not. You're here to build something new. And we're so glad that you're going to do it. And we love you all so very much. Thank you.